But these spots I showed you in here, it would be unfair of me not to show you some of the dangers as well. This is only a crystal, but I can explain to you what happened to me in using the big pyramid in these locations here, what happened to me, and it can happen to you using your crystals in a small way or in a large way when you begin to put them together to manipulate them. I should show you where a few dangers lie. Now, if you can imagine the 30-foot pyramid that I had, knowing that it contained energy and it's free-flowing, it's always coming in and it's non-stop, I said, well, why can't I harness this? Little crystals will do it. Why can't I harness a pyramid? So I made myself, I'll just go to the blackboard there and give you an idea what I'm talking about. I made myself 2 coils. One was just a small one like this, and it was electric coil, counterclockwise. And I hung that in the top of the pyramid. But before I did that, it was stove wire, and there's about 8 strands of copper wire and stove wire. And I undid them and made them into a lot of fingers like this, spread them out, something like an antenna. And this end here, I just hung it up, fastened it up onto the beams, and that was right in the peak. Now I went downstairs, and I had a spare piece of plywood, quarter ply, and I made a magnetic coil with old antenna wire. It was double wire. And I put one end straight through into the earth, and so looking at it like this, it stuck through there, and my coil is on here like that. And the other end I left standing up to connect. One's into the earth. Now all this wire here, it's only quarter ply, and I used 2-inch staples. The staples went straight through the ply and gave me a better ground. This was also ground in the center. Now, there are many things that have happened to me in my time that I can't really explain. There are many things that I have known, but don't know how I know. And this is one instance where this happened to me. I knew I had to connect these 2 together with some natural wool, sheep's wool. Nylon was not what I wanted. And so I got hold of some ordinary wool, and I measured it out. Up the stairs go right to the top. I measured it out so it hung from here to within 6 inches of the floor. Plenty to fasten to that and to fasten to this. Now I stood on some steps up there and fastened that to there, just wrapped around, tied it round. Simple, nothing clever about it, just fastened it to this copper wire. And I hung this down through the steps, through the stairway, until it was hanging down, but it wasn't touching the floor. I went downstairs to connect this to that, and as I caught hold of that, it threw me 20 feet across the floor. I'm 180 pounds, and it picked me up and threw me 20 feet across the floor. I got no skin on this elbow here and all down my leg here. And I lay there for about 5 minutes at least, wouldn't know what happened to me. All I had done was touched a piece of wool. Now, this wool had gone through, it wasn't even connected to this, it had gone through my cube root of the pyramid, which was about here, and up to the point, the second magnitude there, and that part was connected. And when I touched that, I grounded the whole damn thing, and it threw me 20 feet across the floor. I didn't know what had happened to me, and the result of it was I took the whole thing to pieces. I still have the parts. You can have them if you want them. And I realized that I was fooling around with something I didn't really understand. It taught me a lesson, but it also meant that I could stand here and tell you, don't fool around with these crystals until you know what you're doing. Theory is all right, and you've got to put it into practice. So be awfully careful. Make note on these things and these things, and you'll be able to use your crystal how it should be used. Now, in a crystal itself, you have different, you've got different grades of crystal. And your grade of crystal will determine how good it is for your performance. There are crystals that are very, very powerful, but weak in texture and will fall apart on you. There are crystals that are kind of, the nucleus here is very weak. In other words, it's not a very compact crystal. And so you don't get a very big force field. But the best crystal you can get, and the way you determine this, I don't know, that's up to you. But you could go by where the crystal comes from. Does it come from Arizona? Does it come from Brazil? Wherever, you find out what your crystal contains. And the best crystal you can have is one that contains sodium, potassium, magnesium, and silica. Now, I haven't got the quantities of those. If you've got those four, I'll repeat them. Sodium, potassium, magnesium, and silica, you have the best conductivity. Now, a lot of these crystals have impurities in them. And if they didn't, you'd never see a colour in them. It's the impurities that give you the colours, strangely enough, but that's so. If there's no impurities, you wouldn't see the colours. The amount of colours you get in your crystal, there's 6 altogether, and a clear one. You remember I told you on the chart how all the 6 became pure light? Well, we have to still remember that. And the colours that come into the crystal, the visible light, they would only occur where the correct frequencies are in that particular crystal. I was explaining to you the best type of crystal to get for the best conductivity and the best performance. So the clearer the crystal you get, and then of course the clearer your colours. Now the 6 colours themselves, you should make a note of this, because you are going to have to use these measurements when you come to use your colours in the crystal. I would hope that by now you can see the crystals you've got are not to be used like you have probably been using them. You have a new idea how to use crystals. Now, there's a difference between the amount of energy in a light wave and the length of it. We measure light waves in the smallest amount we use is called an angstrom. And I have some numbers here that would tell you when you come to the point of choosing the color to put through your crystal, or choosing the color you want from your crystal, you must have the frequency that will give you this measurement. I'll go back across to the blackboard again, and I'll very quickly write them down so that you can make a note of them. I suggest that you share with each other when you get a chance. Okay, the frequencies and harmonics. We're dealing with the frequencies. And the ultraviolet range, that's outside the range you can see. They go from 2900 angstroms to 3900. Now I'm just going to cross the zeros out. Now violet, that one will be 39. That's from here, okay? 39 to 45. Then you go from 45, that's for your blue, to 49. And then you go to your green, which is 49 to 55. And from the green you go to orange, yellow, I beg your pardon, yellow, 55, orange I should say, where am I? Yeah, yellow. 55 to 59, 9. And red, orange is 59 to 63, 59 to 63. And then you go to your infrareds, which you can't see. And that's from 63 to 10,000. You can copy those down and be sure you remember them, because you can probably obtain them somewhere else anyway. But these are the frequencies that you're going to have to use. And also you'll have to use those frequencies in the harmonic sense as well as the energy sense. Now, when I speak of harmonics, that's the sound that the frequency makes. If you wanted a certain note on the piano, you go up the piano till you get to it. You do not get that note one before it or one after it. Only on that particular place do you get that harmonic. And it is the same with nature. There are places with the laws of nature where things happen every time, always the same thing, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can come to, we'll say, when we're talking about the elements, in between the elements you have degrees before you get to this one. Now this element here is always that element until it gets to the other one, adding bits to it. In other words, the in-betweens. They call them isotopes. That's in between this frequency and that one. Now, the harmonic is something that you're going to have to use. If there are any musicians amongst you, you have a head start on everybody else. But I'll give you some harmonics that are most unusual for you. One is the speed of light. You know it's 186,000 miles a second. Well, it has a harmonic. And the harmonic is 1439. That's the harmonic of the speed of light. I can't go too much into these. I'll just give you these because you'll be able to refer to them later on. Now, if you have a speed of light harmonic, you also have an anti-speed light of harmonic. And the anti-speed of light harmonic is 6950. 6950. These are round figures. Now, gravity acceleration. You're going to have to use that too, believe me. It will all come in your crystals. Gravity acceleration is 45.5. That's gravity acceleration. Now what do we have on the other side of it? Anti-gravity acceleration, which is 3930. That's the speed of light, anti-speed of light, gravitational acceleration, gravity, and anti-gravity. They'll come in handy for you later on. There's one that we should know that will come into many, many things, not so much in your crystal, but it is the Earth mass acceleration, or the harmonic is 1703. 1703. Earth mass. We have to now bring into the scheme of things the shape. All the shapes I described to you, all these shapes here, hexagons, triangles, they are all governed by pi. You know what pi is, don't you? 3.1415. They are all governed by pi, but don't let that worry you. Only if you're measuring your waves from the crystal, after you've measured your force field, then you would want to know more about that. But I think that was probably going a bit too far for what we want here. It doesn't, it will not, it might confuse some of you, so I'll leave that one alone. But what you should know and realize is that we have gone past the gravitation of liquids, or gaseous I should say, liquids, solids, and we've come to the crystal, which is the fourth state of matter. And the fourth state of matter has the rules and regulations like I've been talking about, but they're not random. They're laws of nature. They are not random, they're not arbitrary, they are, you can't argue about them. The laws of nature in the crystal it's all preformed. Now, I say that because a natural crystal has these qualities, but a crystal man-made, and they're making a lot today, would not have them. And just like, to mention another crystal, a ruby. A ruby is going to play a tremendous part in our healing and everything else with crystals, but not until you remove one light refraction from it. A ruby contains 2 light refractions. The crystal contains 1. Now there is a way to remove the 1 light refraction from a ruby, and I don't think that need interest us here. But a ruby will play a large part in healing. Another thing I told you about the shapes. And the shapes themselves will determine a lot of the direction of your the energy you send out. I'm going to the blackboard again. In the I hope you got those. If not, you're too late. When you take a stick, here's some water. When you take a stick and you dip it into the water, like that, it does that. Ever noticed it when you was a kid? Always bends. Now, it will bend more when this is thicker than water. So you stick it in syrup. It'll bend a lot more than that. This is what you call, this light does the same thing. When it goes into your crystal, it hits your crystal and it bends. And that's called light refraction. There is an angle of light refraction which is there, but don't bother about that. That is light refraction inside your crystal. But when you use the outside of your crystal to direct your beam or whatever, the way you facet it will determine at what angle you send your beam out at. I've got a chart here, if you follow me across here a second, and it shows you some little different angles here, look. The angle of this one, it points up there. This is your reflection off that side or any side. The reflection is that angle there. This one is thinner, and the angle is entirely different. And this one is much steeper. So however you facet your crystals, that's where your light will shine, because this is reflection, not refraction. Now, light refraction is not energy projection. There's a difference altogether. I don't know whether you know, but light itself doesn't go anywhere. The only place light is at its source. Light reflects all the way at 186,000 miles a second on atmospheric and whatever conditions. Light goes nowhere from its source. It reflects at that particular speed. If you were to stand in front of it, you shut it off. It didn't go anywhere. Somebody said, where's the light go to when you switch your flashlight out? Well, darkness comes in at the same speed. But light doesn't go anywhere. So when you're using reflection from your crystals, what are you doing? You're not sending energy to anybody. You are only redirecting the light. If you want to send your reflections out for, we'll say, a certain color, and you're not going to direct it, you're going to send it out to a person. There's color. It's nothing else but energy. Color is light, it's spun into color. Magnetism in color. Therefore, if you play magnetism with no color onto a person, you're helping them. They'll absorb it into their system. If you're reflecting a particular light, one of the lights of the spectrum, onto a person, then that strength is more than just magnetism. It took a certain amount of that energy to make it that particular color. And so you direct those lights to that person. But there's more to that to come in a minute. Now, if you want to have a crystal, I'll go back to the board again. If you had a crystal that was, you say you faceted it with four sides. Let's see, like this. You facet it like that. You got 4 reflections. Now those reflections go out at a certain speed of or beats per second. You know that energy is not in a piece, it's all like dots all joined together. And this one here with the 4 faces would send out 4 beeps, if you like, per second. If you had a 6-sided one, then it would send out 6 just spots of energy at a time. 8 will send 8 faces, you send 8 out. So the pulse is getting faster, isn't it? If you got one with 12, the 12-sided ones, they make marvelous ones for hanging in the wind if you want rainbows all around the house when the sun shines on it. You've got 12 faces sending them out. So you have control here not only of the area which you can send them, you have, how can I put it, you have more scope in width and probably less in depth, depending what angle you make this. Suppose you made that one about very shallow like that, not so deep as that. It will spread this way, won't it? And that way. And its outer limits, if this was a person's stomach here, it would reach to about here. This one here would not even go so far. It would reflect down to about here. It wouldn't even go so far. So wherever you put your angle on here, it will reflect the right angles to it to a certain distance. When you change the shape of your crystal, you not only changed the reflection angle, you have changed the shape of the coil which goes up through it. And when you change it like these 3, that's equivalent to each one, you have changed the speed. It takes longer to go around this one than just to go around that one or that one. You change the speed so that it doesn't matter only in the beginning. When you set up an experiment, you would know how long it is before it gets cracking to do something. But you would also know that one works faster than the other. This isn't always bad, because in many cases of healing, it should be done very, very slowly and gently, not in a rush. No healing should be done in a rush. But this is one way you can slow down the energy you put out. But the energy you're putting out, remember what it was? It's out of the top here, and what's that? It's radiation. It's not negative energy, it is radiation, and the energy could be used for the color. I was explaining how you could use the colors, as opposed to using energy I'll show you how, in a little while, how we can direct a colour into a person without losing any reflection at all. The faceting I've talked about, except the spheres. I'm going to pick one of these spheres up again to show you. Here's a nice one. Now that doesn't give out any colours at all. It would multiply light that goes through it, but it's unmanageable. And a crystal like that, if it was set up in a certain circumstances, in conjunction with the cube root and the first and second dimension, the distributor, if that was set up at a certain angle with an amount of energy coming through, so it's quite strong, and if the sun, now I'm not talking electric light, if the sun hit that at a certain angle, it could cause devastation. I don't think I'm going to go more into that, but I think a lot of you know what I'm talking about. A crystal like that would cause a lot of devastation. If you take the crystal and cut some off it, then you can play all the light through it and magnify it down here. If you turn it over with the round to the top and the flat to the bottom, then the light that comes in here spreads itself out, and it's the flat bottom like that sends a circle of energy down. So if you turn it over, you will send a very fine ray, like a laser, down. Now if you played that laser into a second one down here, which had a flat top, this has been multiplied 1,000 times. What went in there, multiplied 1,000 times coming out here, and that hits this one down here, and once again is multiplied by 1,000 times of that one. And then, of course, you have to know what you're doing, because you have to realize what you could be doing down below that one there. There's no problem if you watch what you're doing and set things up before you start them. Just don't play around with crystals. We've got some more to go yet, but I'm trying to instill into you caution. Always have caution. I have hurt myself several times by being too eager. You have such a choice to go to. Now, included in those choices, you have other things. You have 6 colors, and the 7th, which is the pure light, and then you would have the dimensions or the magnitudes to multiply those colors, and you would also have reflections. You have so many things going for you that the combinations, it's hard to believe how many there is. But you have to take this into consideration. Do I want depth? Do I want broadness? Do I want to go inside that person 6 inches or just half an inch? All of these things, when you understand your crystal, when you come to get them faceted, then you should think of this as have the crystal faceted for what you want to do with it. It's obvious that you have to have quite a selection of crystals so that you can have a choice. Now, a person is not two-dimensional. A person is three-dimensional. You notice I've turned around to healing, eh? Because that's what we really are looking at. If the person is three-dimensional, why would you play a flat energy onto that person, unless it was, say, for a skin disease on the surface? Why would you not play it into the person, because they have depth, they're three-dimensional? These things you have to think of. Now, before I go any further on that, I'm coming back to it, before I go any further on that, I have to once more warn you about things you shouldn't do. Any one of these crystals here, if I may just point to one of these. Take this one. If we had, and this happened to 2 very good friends of mine. And they had a crystal like this, and they had a pen light flashlight. And they had it on the table like that, and they shone the flashlight onto it to look what happened here. The light that went in was of a certain strength. The one that came out was multiplied 1,000 times. The man burnt the retina of his eye badly, and 2 days after, if the wife didn't do the same thing, he was wrapped up, his eye was patched up for about 10 days, and his wife about a couple of days. Wasn't so bad. But see, if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. Always have that bit of caution. I've hurt myself once or twice because I didn't look at what I was doing first. What could be the result? Now, don't ever shine a flashlight at one of those. And another thing is, you should never have these things. We take this one here. That doesn't send out any colours at all. It's got no windows in it. But that one there, if you had the sun shining on that and you put it close to something, you can see the light come very brightly at the bottom. It's 1,000 times stronger from what's going in to what is coming out. If you cut it in half and make a flat, that doesn't send out any colours at all. It's got no windows in it. But that one there, if you had the sun shining on that and you put it close to something, you can see the light come very brightly at the bottom. It's 1,000 times stronger from what's going in to what is coming out. If you cut it in half and make a flat top of it, all the energy goes into the flat top, comes out of the convex here, and would burn grass, piece of wood. You multiply it 1,000 times. I'm mentioning things now that are not only performance, they're dangerous, but they can also be used sensibly. And I don't know, there's so many things I want to warn you about. It's not very easy to tell them all, and it's not very easy to just remember them on the spot, on the spur of the moment, but I think in a minute we'll come back to one or two more of these before we actually leave these. We've got a beautiful sample of crystals here. As far as ornaments are concerned, I wouldn't know which one to choose. I like them all. But my job is not to just like them, my job is to understand them. And I'm sure that some of you have crystals like this that you have used maybe to meditate with. Now, if you've just obtained a crystal, whether it's from a shop or from somebody else, before you should meditate with it, you should clear it. By that I mean you should erase everything to do with anybody else that ever touched it and instill your own energy and your thoughts into it. And you do that so easily. You take your crystal and look around it. You can find two, if you can't find holes, find some dents in it. And I find two here. Perhaps you can see them. They're not very deep, but they'll do for what I want. And I take two fingers and I put them on there, on those two holes, and I would ground it to the table or anything else. And I would just hold that for maybe a minute or a minute and a half. And it would take out all recordings that other people have put into it. Whether they knew they were doing it or not, it's nothing to do with it. It has registered in there like a computer. I am erasing its memory. Now that has been there long enough. My thumb has grounded it. These two fingers, one positive, one negative, have made complete three-point contact. Now this crystal is mine. I have now cleared it. It's mine. Now I fill it. And I can take this crystal in my hand. And I can fill it now with instructions. And if this were my crystal, which of course it is, when I filled this crystal, do you know the first thing I filled it with? I filled that crystal with love. Because out of love comes healing, caring, and you'll get a better performance from the crystal itself. You're putting yourself into it. If you want to put evil things into the crystal, you can do it. But I put caring, thinking about other people. And this will respond to me because it is now attached to me. I have instilled into it the things I want to do with it and the things I want it to help me with. Now, you can't sort of put into here a story. You give it instructions. And the instructions are done with thought and caring. And when you have given it instructions, you know in the crystal itself it is live and taking what you gave it. But now you ask it some questions. This is exactly the same as a computer, but like a computer, you have to put something in before you can get any answers from it. I put all kinds of things into here, personal things. And from those things I put in, I weave a network, a grid if you like, a series of computations, and it will give me answers, not in words, but I can feel the answers. If I said to someone, do you like that color? And they didn't answer you, but they pulled a face, you know they don't like it. If they said, do you like that color? And they smiled, yeah. So when I ask the crystal something, it will indicate to me the forces in here will go through me. I can feel it. And I don't get words, I get indications or guidance if you like. So a crystal is not something to play around with. It is not a toy. It's as human as you are. And it responds without question. You could never have a better servant than this if you treat it right. But always remember that what you put in is more or less what you'll get out. Don't put something in when you have something against somebody. You're jealous of somebody. You wish you had this. You don't really need it. Put the thoughts in that would help you through life, meet your needs, and then you can turn around and ask for guidance to help others do the same thing. Now, if I wanted to communicate with another person, I would have to have their confidence, probably in private, and they would have a crystal like this, their own crystal, which I wouldn't touch. And we could sit opposite each other in the quiet, in the stillness, and just like you can listen to the stillness of the voice inside you, you can communicate with that person. Now, I'm not going to say this is like ESP. This is how you feel. This is how you transmit love from one to the other. This is how that love will come back again. It will answer all kinds of questions for you. Supposing, for instance, a person was ill, sick, got the flu or something, nothing serious, and you wished for them a healing. Your crystal, like my tetrahedrons, transmitted to each other and broke down the zinc, this is no different. This will transmit to the person who is sick, and they will probably get benefit from it, if they are receptive. You can't help anyone that won't help themselves. And so we're looking at people coming together. Okay, now supposing that person is 70 miles away, makes no difference. You see, this is in communication with the rest of the universe. Now you might think to yourself, oh, he's gone a bit too far now. Well, you think what you like. I say that this is in touch with the universe. And there is nothing in this universe that is not in touch with everything else in the universe. If I can look back over the years and see my relatives, how many relatives have I got in the 100 years before that that are spread out across the world and I don't know them anymore? We all came from different wombs, but we're all related still. And so you don't carve this out of the universe and separate it from it. This is a live thing that will talk if you know how to talk to it. Now, there's such a thing as people touching your crystal. That's taboo as far as I'm concerned. If you give them permission, okay, you can handle it, but then when I got it back, I would clear it. It's a simple process. The only thing is that you've got to start all over again and build that back up again. So this crystal would be mine, and I would respect anybody else's too. Now, a lot of people that have been to talk with the crystal skull. And a lot of people that would ridicule it, and a lot of people understand it. But I don't think you get anything from the crystal skull unless you went with the same attitude that I went to this. If you go to it with love and caring for somebody else, usually you go to it for somebody else, not yourself. You always put yourself last. You don't count. It's the other person that counts, and that's why this will respond to you, because you are caring for somebody else. It comes back because in the caring for them, they care for you, and they spread the word, and everybody cares for you because you did that for them. So you can communicate at long distances. If I want to communicate with someone in New Zealand, and they have a crystal, I know them, I can communicate to them, and I would never hear a word. But you know, probably within 6 or 8 weeks, I get a letter, right out of the blue. It may be mentioned nothing about crystals, not just average talk, and I would get a letter right out of the blue. You will find that if you treat this like a person with respect and caring, it will do so much for you too. It isn't a one-way thing, it's reciprocal. I'm just going to have a look at across here. Crystals are atoms in motion. I'm repeating this probably. I pushed it a bit before, but crystals are atoms in motion. They are live and, like I just said, reacting to you. And the motion of a crystal, particularly these kinds, you know, I mentioned earlier too that we had different kinds of crystals. Some were better than others. I'm talking about this one and this kind. The rhythm of the motion is so constant that the force field of that crystal is also constant and in balance. Now, if I take that crystal and treat it, let's say, pick it up casually once every 3 months, and I don't use it very much, then its nucleus has lost its compactness and it has gone down in energy. And so you take your crystal and use it continuously, and the nucleus of that will have a far greater force field around it. And you have a crystal that you can reach farther with. There's so much you can do with it, but don't just put it down and forget it. It needs your attention. It's like a computer. It's dumb until you put something into it, and then you get something out of it. A computer could never do what I can do, because that can't give you caring and love for other people. This can. So those of you who have crystals that you want to use them for something like this, do it that way, but do it sincerely. It's not fun, it's for real. Now, I'm going to deal with energy as a whole. I'll give you an instance that happened to me when I had my big pyramid. I was always doing experiments, and so you never know what you're going to come up with. And in those days, I was a greenhorn. I didn't know too much, and I thought to myself, I knew that with a mirror, I could reflect energy, magnetic energy, just the same as sunlight. Oh, what is sunlight? Isn't it magnetic energy? So with a mirror, I can reflect energy away at an angle to the mirror. And I thought, I could... You want to use them for something like this. Do it that way, but do it sincerely. It's not fun, it's for real. Now, I'm going to deal with energy as a whole. I'll give you an instance that happened to me when I had my big pyramid. I was always doing experiments, and so you never know what you're going to come up with. And in those days, I was a greenhorn. I didn't know too much, and I thought to myself, I knew that with a mirror, I could reflect energy, magnetic energy, just the same as sunlight. Oh, what is sunlight? Isn't it magnetic energy? So with a mirror, I can reflect energy away at an angle to the mirror. And I thought, I could save myself some heating costs here if I cover the north wall with plywood on the outside and 4 inches of insulation. And some very kind people at Toronto University, at the University Press, said I could have sheets and sheets of the aluminum. They'd printed the whatever they printed on it, and the backside was still clean and shiny. And so I got the wall covered on the outside with plywood. I got insulation in and started to put the shiny aluminum on. And then I found out that I was reflecting all the energy from here across to here. The angle pushed all the pyramid energy across to there. It reflects it. Just the same as me shining a mirror and shining the sun from here into somebody's eyes. The mirror effect pushed it out. Okay, I did something wrong, but it taught me something. It taught me how to reflect energy from the crystal to a person. If I put a crystal, which I'm coming to in a minute, which is directed straight to the person, and I wanted to meet them halfway inside them, I can do it 2 ways. One, I can get a crystal at the front which is directing the color energy with the light frequency I want to give me the light I want. And then at the back of them, I put another one which will give me the opposite color to the one I'm using. And this one comes through, and that stops it dead at the range I put it. And so inside that person, say 6 inches inside, this goes in 6 inches, would go straight through if I didn't put this one at the back and stop it halfway. So now we have the energy sitting right in the center where you want it. It's a kind of a push and pull. Don't rule that out. Everybody thinks, oh, I'm going to do this with the crystal. You can do that and push and pull, and manipulate it into the position or for the condition you want. I spoke a long time ago when I said that before too long, man must learn to manipulate the atoms. That's exactly what we're doing here. but you're going to have to manipulate the atoms after this has gone by. I don't know how long down the road. You will manipulate the atoms with crystals for now and with your mind later on. You see, I have a mind to work with that crystal, and the limits of that mind, it doesn't have a limit really, because I can send wherever I like. But when you can manipulate the atoms itself, as opposed to using a crystal, then you can make any of the things in this universe, bring the atoms into bearing to gravitate them into whatever material you want. And if you want to move something, then you disintegrate it and move it somewhere else. We must learn to manipulate the atoms. At the present time, all we can do is to take a lesson from these things and learn how to use ourselves so that our mind becomes mind over matter, literally. That's not too hard if you think about it. Just give it some thought. When I finish talking, you'll continue remembering and think about it. The human body has, it's not electrical in the sense, of course we call it the electrical systems. It's really so minute that it's magnetic. It's pre-electric in my opinion. Any reading you take on the human body will register somewhere, front or back, positive or negative, in the region of 14 to 27 microvolts. In the heart region, it will register 70. I'm giving you round figures. And so if you were to apply, say, to a particular part of the body which registers 20 microvolts, where there's an illness or a breakdown, an imbalance we're talking about. Imbalance, that's all it is. If there's an imbalance and the reading on that particular part of the body is 20 microvolts, you would never ever think of playing energy into that was, say, 1,000 microvolts. That's like giving a newborn baby 6 aspirins. You would tune down to the color that is gentle and the frequency or the penetration that would be compatible with the 20 microvolts. Now you have to also bring into that the temperature at that particular part of the body. It's not all the same. That particular part of the body would need a certain heat. Now when you come to heal, you can only give it the ingredients it needs, and nature does the healing. We can't heal a damn thing. Nature does the healing. You give it what it needs, the tools to do it with. And in this case, the only tool it needs is the right strength of magnetism, the right amount, on the right frequency at that particular part of the body. The frequency will also give you that particular color and the heat of the body and the penetration, and you have a potential balancing of the, what do you call them? That particular part of the system anyway. You balance the cells. If you were to, let's look at it from another angle. Supposing you were in good health and you want to remain that way. In this day and age we take all kinds of vitamins and we take exercises and this and that, and you're really guessing. To a certain extent you're all right, but you're really guessing. Your body will tell you what it wants, but if you keep that body in magnetic balance, there's no other ingredient needed. You see, a healthy cell would have its nucleus, its energy field and its magnetic field, the neural systems in balance, positive and negative. There is no open door in any cell at all for illness or putrefaction or disease. You can't do that. Anything in balance will not decay or deteriorate. In the pyramid I proved this conclusively, where the energy in there is so strong and everything in balance that no putrefaction can take place. You can't rot leaves and things in there, you just can't do it. You can't make a compost heap. And so in the early years I proved conclusively that magnetism will not let anything perish. If you give it, supposing that it's live, you treat it according to that particular part of the body and the person. But if it's dead, fruits or vegetables or, we'll say, meat, you treat it in a different way and you can give it more. But when we're talking about the human body, you match it. Whatever the human body needs is what you give it. The length of time it takes has nothing to do with it. You must stick to feeding it what it wants and let nature do the healing. It'll do it. Without any trouble. Now, one of the things that you're going to have to be able to do is to separate the colours. You've seen the colours of the rainbow, the visible spectrum. Now, how would you go about taking any one of those colours and directing it to where you want it without it going out of the sides? Or without using any other colours? Well, it's easy to get the colour you want because you play in that, I told you the measurements of those different colours. You play in the right wavelength, frequency and harmonic, and the colour is now in the crystal. But we have to stop it coming out of the sides, spreading, going anywhere it likes. If I may just go across here a second, if I put colour into here, it can go out anywhere it likes. It's round, it's a sphere. So what you do, if I put it into one of these, it goes out of the facets. And those facets are nowhere near equal. And if you haven't got, if you've got a wheel this size your car and one this size, you have an awful ride. And it's the same with these things. Your facets must be faceted to the angles you want for reflection and refraction, and also they have to be perfect with each other. You don't have one a bit one way and another. These are just haphazard. So we take a crystal like this and we force it to go where we want it. And instead of having one of these, let me ask a question sort of thing. There are no windows in this, there. No windows there. And if I had a pyramid like this one, there are windows. There are windows on these. So where would you get one without windows like this? You would have a cone. You'd have a cone. Now there are no windows, there's no flat sides, there's no facets. So it's got to go straight down there and come out of here. So now what you need is a machine, or rather crystals that are made like this, very, very narrow, like almost like needles, as small as you can get them. It doesn't matter, it's this that counts. And also the length from here to here that counts. And here's your cube root, and here's your magnifying point of distribution, and because it's coming from here to there, it'll go straight through there because you pushed it through there. Now you have here something like this pen here. If this were the crystal, this little bit here, and it just stuck in there, like I could change nibs on a pen, this is coupled to a machine that'll give you the frequency you want into this end to give you the colour you want. And then you just change the pen according to what you want, length or whatever, breadth. And once you do that, then the person, you can either touch them or play the colour you want. You don't use 6 colours, you use the one you want. So here we have a method of taking a crystal that has 6 plus 1 and separating them to take just the one you want. Now this same crystal here, if let's say you're playing green into here and you're finished with that and you want blue, okay, you just put the frequency into here, that this same crystal will give you blue. You don't need it more than one. You don't need a crystal for each colour. The same crystal can be used over and over, just like a pen nib. Dip it in any ink you like. So this is the way you'll separate your colours. But you have to have a machine. Now, I suppose one of the questions that you can't really answer me is where would I get a machine like that? I think I should get in touch with Galen Hieronymus, or I can't remember his first name, Beardsmore. They make machines that would measure your shadow in the dark. They would probably help you. Or someone that is expert on music and colours, with the synthesizers and whatnot, they will help you. But these are the things you want faceted. Never mind about these things like this. The day's gone, more or less, for those. These, you specify exactly what you want, you go directly to what you want. Now, I don't know how much more there is I can tell you there. Separating the colours, we've done that, and I would say to you that if you don't know where the chakras are on the body, you should find out, because they have colours too. And you will see by those, you get yourself a chart, you'll see by those which are the opposite colours. So that when you want to use opposition, push or pull, you know which colour to use. Now if you were in the area up here where it's like yellow, isn't it, golden, bright light, you would never think of using red. So wherever the chakra of the body and the colour is, you use your microvolt energy, you use your frequency to give you the colour of that particular part of the body, and it's common sense to meet it where it's at. I can't tell you any more than that. Just have these things available so that you can do anything you really want to. But don't think that tomorrow you're going to go out and get yourself a load of these and start into it right away. There's a lot of work to be done. But be patient. Be patient. I've discussed the depth that you would penetrate and the heat attached to that. But there's also one more thing that you should add. When you create the frequency for the color, that frequency will have a harmonic. Now if you can have music that is compatible with the healing you want to do, and those harmonics do not clash, then you are also assisting. It's like fertilizing your crops. You are assisting the healing by the music. If you put on the Stars and Stripes, watch out. But if you play a nice soothing tune, it's half the battle. Music is a great stimulator or something that soothes, and so there's nothing wrong. As a matter of fact, I would like to think that you use music at the same time, but not offensive music. Now, I have seen demonstrations that have been with the use of crystals, and they were used as a blanket effect. That means to say that it's like wrapping somebody in a blanket and say, let's see if you get better now. You know, you're nice and warm, that'd probably cure you, got the flu, but just get better with that. It seems like that to me when you see people using crystals, these type of crystals, to put, say, lay people on a bed or a table or something, and they put a crystal by their head and one by their feet, one by their elbow, the shoulder and whatnot. If this offends anyone, I'm sorry, but I got to say it the way it is. If you are doing that, you're only guessing. Who would believe that a person does not have a magnetic field complete? If your magnetic field is not complete, you're probably dead. And yet you see people having crystals placed around them, and then with either a crystal in the hand or with the hand, they join the magnetic field together. It's already there. That's only using things as a blanket. It's only using things when you don't know what you're doing. Now, if you are using energy to cure someone, you better be sure that you're not using the energy that's killing them. I have some very good friends. One is a professor, and he was studying with the Wilhelm Reich organization, I believe, orgone energy. When he described to me what orgone energy he thought it was nothing else but magnetism. I just told you earlier on, there is nothing but magnetism. It's just in a different state. So where this name of orgone came from, I don't know. Another name for something. And he confided in me that they had meetings. I don't particularly know who or where. It doesn't bother me. But they had meetings where a person was wrapped in a blanket of steel wool and cotton wool in layers. Steel wool, cotton wool, steel wool, cotton wool. Flattened into a blanket. And they were rolled into it. Now you know very well that cotton wool today is nylon. And it will, it draws magnetism to it. Very often off nylon, a carpet, you can get a shock off it. It draws magnetism. Steel wool, one of the best ticers of magnetism you could possibly have. Steel pulls energy out of the atmosphere to it. So you have a layer of magnetism, 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 and wrap somebody in it. That's just like putting a plastic bag over somebody's head and tying the knot round their neck. You're suffocating them with energy. Maybe their own plus what you're pulling into them. And in confidence, he said that they nearly lost a couple of people. And they had quit doing it altogether. So you see, when you use crystals, blanket fashion, you're asking for trouble, you're guessing. If you don't know how to use a crystal, don't use it at all. Find out first. I guess I could go on forever, really, but somewhere along the line you have to come to a close. And sometimes it's harder to come to a close when there's still a lot to be said. Now I would like to tell you about something that is, well, it's very precious to me and will be to others sooner or later. Where do we get to? I lost my can here. I told you earlier on that I had many narrow escapes, many things given to me in the most unconventional way. I say that sincerely. I don't know how I knew them, I just knew them. And I don't see why, if I am blessed with that kind of thing, I should have to try and explain it. I'm not even going to try to. I have been blessed with many, many things, and I think perhaps it's because I care more for others than I do for myself. Now, I have been working for the last 12 months on a pyramid that is so different. This pyramid does not have the dimensions like these here, but they do have a dimension that is used throughout the universe, using the figure 5. I have an assurance that this pyramid will do certain things. It is built rather, and it is in the process of having a collection of crystals assembled, faceted, coordinated, to the point where anyone sitting under it cancer would be halted. I can't say too much about it yet. I haven't finished it. But I know, as I knew those other things, that I must build this pyramid. And I must use these crystals with the help of my friends. I can't do this by myself. I have friends all over the place who volunteer for this, that, and the other. And the crystals I had no hope of getting. But, you know, when you have faith, you don't need hope. It just comes. It's not a matter of wishing for it. Of course you wish for it, you hope for it. But this is such a fantastic thing. And probably when people hear what I have to say, they will ridicule me. Good for you. I don't take that ridicule. I don't accept it. I stop it right there. I know what's happening. I know I'll have a pyramid that will halt cancer. But I think it was this year, but I'm not quite sure yet. Now, I have talked to you about all kinds of things, right from the beginning to almost to the end. We haven't come to Omega, because as I told you earlier on, before one light wave finishes, the next one starts. When this era that we're talking about now, healing, before it comes to complete fruition, a new way will begin. It's that new way that I'm looking to you to bring out. I don't think we've got any problems as long as we do this for each other. I think that, I hope that you've learned something. I hope you'll go away and think about it. I hope you get in touch with me. But I couldn't do half of this without prayers. So I ask for yours.